Coming up on today's wrestling news, Cody Rhodes shoots on terrible AEW exit.
We've got big changes coming to Ring of Honor.
The real reason for an out-of-nowhere WWE heel turn.
And Jeff Jarrett pitches a WCW reboot.
What? I'm Michael Hamflett.
And I'm Phil Chambers.
And this is the news.
Yeah,
starting with the WWE champion, the biggest star in the industry, all of that stuff. And Cody Rhodes is going into a bit of detail on his exit from AEW. He's spoken recently with Chris Van Vliet. We would recommend checking out the full interview for all those details, but you come to us for some out-of-context aggregation.
Yeah.
And boy, have we got some. He's spoken on AEW and leaving, and of course that tumultuous last few months in the company. Yep. And he goes into quite a lot of detail on it. In some cases, more than he's done in previous interviews. He says, quote, "How AEW ended was terrible, really, and people are going to write books later on and these stories are going to get out there and then it's going to be a whole new ballgame. I'm not comparing myself to Batman, but there's a piece of it that's really important. To certain fans from the AEW fandom, they need the story to be that they didn't want me, they pushed me out, they needed he was bad, they needed the story, they need me to be the villain. I was always fine with accepting that because of the respect I have for AEW in the first place, how difficult it was to do the first All In, how unbelievable the feeling was to do Double or Nothing, how fortunate we were that Tony wanted to invest in this vision and he had a vision as well. Regardless of any petty squabbles, I will always have a love for it. I got to wrestle Brody Lee's final match, I got to lead people, young people behind the scenes, I will always have a love for it." So yeah, it's one of the first times that I think that Cody's spoken specifically, not just about the exit, which he's very cagey about, speaking about what didn't work out, but about the on-screen character and kind of what became of the Cody Rhodes character, considering that at the launch of AEW, he was the lead, he's the Cody Rhodes of now, he was back then, in 2019, the lead babyface, the face of the operation, all that. A little bit more on it as well that he adds. Because he notes, Chris Van Vliet pushes him a little bit to talk about, like, you know, kind of any sort of other things back at the time that maybe weren't quite to his liking. And he mentions a portion of the Young Bucks book that he hated, talking about the launch. He says, "I hated the Young Bucks book that they said I was the last to sign, because that's a big thing. Some of the AEW defenders who don't realise they're turning people off their product more than they're turning people on. That's one of the things that people always cite. Oh, he was last, he wasn't that a big deal to the origin. No, this guy here who's off camera was the first person to ever meet Tony. And I met him in a vetting process for all of us. So yes, I guess I was last. And yes, I had different thoughts. And it's not incorrect when they said that. But I was just as in on it as everybody else." So yeah, it's like, I wouldn't say there's obvious tension here or anything, and it's all water under the bridge. And look, Cody Rhodes has gone into incredible success. AEW, as we report this morning, is about to have its 250th edition of Dynamite. All is well in the industry at large for what these men kind of came together and did.
Yeah.
But as the years go by, more drips out, doesn't it?
Yeah, just kind of a little trickle feed about what actually happened at the end there. And I assume the proper truth will come out one day. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. But yeah, we'll just have to wait until that day comes. And in the meantime, we just get these little tidbits of information. But it's kind of, I mean, he's always going to be respectful about it. Yes. That's just who he is as a person as well. He's not going to, like, all of a sudden start shooting at AEW for no particular reason. He was obviously a big part of it and is obviously very proud of what they accomplished there. But there's definitely some underlying things that happened towards the end that we just don't quite know about.
Yeah.
And like, I think a lot of it shone through in some of Cody's promos at the time.
Yeah.
Like, you obviously think about the one with the ladders and things, and it's like, what was going on behind the scenes there? Like, what was that?
The Codyverse, which I don't think is necessarily a term he likes, but it certainly felt like that at the time, didn't it? It was that versus everything else taking place in AEW, and how has this babyface become this pariah or this John Cena-like figure, ironically enough.
And then the move to WWE and him being incredible full babyface and the run that he's had there, like, as a big middle finger to, like, look, see, I am that babyface guy.
It's and it's all good juice for when he jumps back.
Exactly.
It's all potentially there if ever want to revisit that again. So
but yeah, we'll get the truth eventually, and let us know down in the comments below what you think of Cody's thoughts. What Cody said in the interview. That's the good words. But speaking of AEW, sort of Ring of Honor, there might be big changes coming to Ring of Honor,
good.
And this is supposedly good news for Ring of Honor fans. So this is coming from Fightful Select. They've got a big report about it, saying that at least in the short term, there is likely to be a lot more care given to Ring of Honor, whether that's just sort of in general for the brand or because of the TV rights deals. Like, might be having a part of this, but they're changing up how they're going to be filming things going forwards, and they're pointing to the upcoming Arlington tapings as kind of the turning point of, like, when the change will start to appear. Now, because instead of doing sort of tapings attached to the end of AEW tapings with crowds that are leaving and like just doing week to week filming.
And are tired. Like first hand.
And they're very tired. Those were some long shows.
Yeah.
Long shows. I do not blame people for going home early. But instead of doing that, they're now doing month blocks of tapings instead. So they're doing like 4 tapings in one, all at Arlington, and it should, in theory, lead to a lot more creative stability on the products because they've got to plan 4 weeks at least ahead instead of doing week to week to week as a add-on when they're still busy doing all the AEW stuff as well.
Yeah.
So it kind of separates it a little bit, adds a bit more care to the sort of storytelling part of it, and separates the tapings to just let them be their own thing rather than sort of tagging them to the end. Another note was that the Maximum Male Models, or MXM, have been signed specifically for Ring of Honor, and not kind of the sort of crossover thing, which a lot of the people that have been to Ring of Honor have been, and then they've done bits on AEW, bits of Ring of Honor, and it's not really been that focused. It's seemingly that Maximum Male Models are specifically Ring of Honor, so that's sort of a bit more of a sort of creative like thinking of like just for this brand we'll use them.
Isn't it?
Yeah. So hopefully this means some changes, good changes, are coming to Ring of Honor. The final note was that champions are going to be featured a bit more prominently on the TV, because at the minute it's kind of been sporadic because obviously they're doing other things on AEW at the same time, so you don't want to overwork them on the same nights and things, so it's been a bit weird. So champions will be featured more prominently, looking at signings to like specific for Ring of Honor and more focused TV tapings should hopefully make big changes to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, these are good noises coming out of this, aren't they? This brand that I think a lot of people have always felt has been more of an imposition for Tony Khan, and especially like his creative energy and that sort of thing. Their taping cycle here in Arlington reminds me a lot of how NXT used to work in Full Sail, where you could go on Twitter or you could read online the weeks of spoilers, but you didn't need to, if you were engaged. Those weeks of spoilers would lead you into takeovers that would be massive events. The Ring of Honor pay-per-views are generally well regarded and well reviewed. They feel like a takeover where you don't need to have necessarily been watching the TV show. The video package or the wrestlers catch you back up and you're in and you're locked in. This is potentially a nice compromise, at least over the summer. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Arlington Collision and Ring of Honor tapings lead us right into Cardiff for the first ever UK Dynamite, and then that of course takes you to All In, so it's quite a nice neat summer run for AEW as a company, and Ring of Honor inclusive in that. Again, in kind of keeping everybody a bit more focused on one thing or another. Speaking of being focused on one thing or another, Phil.
Hello.
I'm pretty focused on AEW All In at Wembley after those Cardiff tapings. I'm looking forward to All In at Wembley.
Me too.
I'm looking forward to probably going to Sweet Chin Disco as a cracking after party happening at the Crystal Club happening beforehand.
Tickets available now. After party, sort of 10 p.m. straight as the show finishes, up till 3 p.m. I think Max Caster's going to be there doing a rap and a Prince Nana DJ set.
I just need something.
We'll be there as well.
I just need something to do before All In. I can't.
One other thing. If only there was something. A What Culture live show, live at Wembley-ish, will be happening right before All In, your perfect pre-game to All In. It's the venue's 2-minute walk away, it's Crystal Club. It starts at 12 p.m. and it will finish at about 1:30, and then there'll be an extended meet and greet thing to kind of hang out and have a drink with us, and just kind of pre-game before the big show at the actual Wembley.
So we are talking 2 minutes. You look at it on the map and you can barely see the gap between Wembley Stadium, which is massive, and the Crystal Club just off to the corner. It's a perfect location.
Right next to it. Tickets are not available yet, but there will be soon this week, hopefully, so long as we can get the website sorted. So watch this space and we will let you know as soon as they are. But there's plenty of tickets, so it'll be all good. And come to the All In and then do the post-show Sweet Chin Disco, and you'll just have a bloody great day, really.
It's a full day of fun,
It is a very full day of fun.
Do you know a British guy who's not having a full day of fun right now?
I could probably name a few.
Pete Dunne. There's a segue for you. All seemingly was well with Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate as a tag team, of course. They worked WrestleMania this year and were kicking about back on NXT doing the British Strong Style stuff. But he then randomly turned back up on Raw and turned heel on his former Brawling Brutes friend Sheamus. Well, Fight for Select have come through with exactly why that has happened, and indeed why it's kind of happened out of nowhere. They said, quote, "The decision to have Pete Dunne feud with Sheamus was made shortly after Tyler Bate's injury. Bate is not expected to return this year." So it's another pretty serious one. We've reported a lot later on wrestlers that are out until 2025, and obviously now Tyler Bate joins that list. And Pete Dunne not just given a new singles run or indeed new singles run on the main roster, but all of those things plus something big against Sheamus where he's kind of been reintroduced as a heel. He did also appear kicking around backstage last night on NXT, but it does feel like for the time being he'll be used as a singles force again to shore up that Monday Night Raw mid-card, the big Sheamus match, I guess, leaning on their history in the past. But that's kind of, I guess, brought an abrupt end to the reunion with Tyler Bate on account of this injury. It might be something they can revisit if Dunne's still a heel. What's your forecast of Pete Dunne as a main roster heel in 2024? It's been 7 years somehow since Pete and Tyler broke through as part of the UK Championship and then NXT UK and all that. But in many respects, it always feels like those guys have had false start after false start on the main roster, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's all been a little bit weird, and they've kind of echoed each other, but in very different ways.
Yeah,
I think because obviously they're great wrestlers, and they have been since they started in WWE. They've been great wrestlers for a really long time, a stupidly long time. But the character side of it, which is obviously very important in WWE, has never really clicked with either of them. Tyler Bate has always been a little bit like unfocused, I guess, as to what exactly the character is. And Pete Dunne was always the same. Butch was, you got what Butch was.
A dog.
Butch was a little scrappy dude. Like that was easy. You could see that. But now he's come back to Pete Dunne. It's still like that. What exactly is? It's the John Cena thing of can you describe your character in 5 words or whatever it is. Can you do that with Pete Dunne? I don't think you can.
I don't know. I think we'll see. Obviously, if he presumably wins this match against Sheamus, like Sheamus is returning to like do all these jobs for people while he's got all this prestige and legacy as a kind of like long tenured star he is now. He's only got the Intercontinental title to win, and then he's done it all.
Everything.
So he could really, I say get Pete Dunne to the next level, but I don't even know what that next level is. Maybe Pete Dunne is already kind of like seeing his future within coaching or within the NXT setup, or was it last year or the year before? I think he sort of decided to re-sign with WWE, but he's still so young. Yeah. This man's like, I think he's still in his 20s. So there could be like a lot of prime years ahead stuff for Pete Dunne.
I think there's a lot of echoing between Sheamus and Pete Dunne as well. Like when Sheamus first started, he was like really good in the ring, just an ass kicker. But again, like the character stuff was never quite there, and he was probably pushed a little bit too much too soon. Yeah. At the beginning, anyway. But then over the years, he figured out the character stuff, and he got the promos, and he like everything else came together, and now he's just amazing. Point, and he's fantastic now. And so hopefully, someone like that who's kind of been there of trying to figure out the WWE character thing, but knows that they already have all the sort of in-ring abilities. Maybe that someone like that can help Pete Dunne sort of figure out who he is and get that character work across.
Do you think Pete Dunne can make it as a singles guy this time around? Let us know in the comments below.
But moving over, finally, to Jeff Jarrett.
About time.
He picked the stories.
About time.
Who knew? So he's been on his My World podcast. Talking about WCW.
Excellent.
Obviously, of course he is. And obviously with a lot of sort of more chatter about WCW than there has been in a while with the sort of Vice who killed WCW docuseries thing. So he's been talking about a potential reboot for WCW and how it could go down.
When's it happening, Phil, and where?
Well, he was talking about potentially doing it with the Netflix deal, obviously.
Great, I mean, when's it happening?
Owns everything. It's not happening yet. Just calm down. He did say, there's a few caveats as to this, as for an idea. It's been off TV for 23 years. Yeah. Nostalgia's there, but the wrestlers aren't. Yeah. Let's face it.
All good points. Yeah.
All good points. The NWO still sells loads of merch, but WCW, the brand itself, hasn't really sold anything in any time and he doesn't see tremendous value in it. But with that being said, he does also say that WWE own the IP, they own the library, and they definitely have the ability and the sort of technical know-how of everything to sort of pull it all together from that and create something. And he says it would take a lot of hard, focused effort, but he thinks that a WCW reboot could be a lot of fun.
Time is strange, isn't it? Like the ECW reboot was always used as the comparison point for this, but there was two things there. Number one, there was always those ECW chants in buildings for something as simple as a hardcore match, and ECW was about so much more than that. Yeah. But it had been 4 years, one night stand to ECW closing was 4 years. Yeah. As you say, 23 years on now. WWE would be nothing but letters. Yeah. It would have to be its own standalone show, but it would be the same as you could call WWE Speed WCW if you wanted. You could reboot a cruiserweight show and call it WWE instead of 205 Live.
Yeah.
This Netflix button is exciting, and it's got a lot of people with a lot of interesting pitches. People just seem to want more swearing on TV as much as anything else. So he's right to say that this brand has value. But what would it be other than the letters on the ring skirt or on the entranceway or anything like that? Because it couldn't be anything else, right? It couldn't be like, I guess you could trot out an Eric Bischoff or something like that, or
or a Jeff Jarrett,
or a Jeff Jarrett.
He's just angling for more jobs.
Yeah, but he's not wrong, but it just feels unlikely, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It feels like one of those things that pass. And like you say with the ECW chants in crowds and things, like that still happens now. Yeah. And that's been like 20 odd years since that closed down. And that has never been the case for WCW. It's never quite had, I think, because it fell so far.
Alienated a lot of people on the way out, didn't it?
It's never quite had that same, God, I wish that was still here energy, other than just it being a viable competitor, which now they have AEW. So that's kind of taken the WCW slot of just being the viable competitor.
Jeff's onto something though. Why don't we just take AEW and put that on the WWE Netflix? But what can possibly go wrong with that?
What could possibly go wrong? But let us know down in the comments below what you think of a WCW reunion. Do you want it? Do you not want it? Go mad. There it is. And that's it. But click this video in the middle here to continue on your YouTube journey and have yourselves a bloody good day.